Slurpity tiddlety too. Hello, mate. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. What's that, mate? It's November. Yeah, I don't care. I'm excited. I'm excited. Unsubscribe if you're not excited already. There go the bananas. Today we're doing a phase plant video again, but something a bit more universal. Universi, a starship universi, a pad if you will. I've made something a bit softer, a bit more gentler to ease in the winter a little bit smoother, you know. Yeah, basically, you know, like when you start, you know, getting excited for Christmas and it's too early. I used to be one of those people who hated those people, but now I'm one of them. And the reason why I'm super excited for Christmas this year, personal reasons, but yeah, just I was away last Christmas in Colombia, and I had a great time, but I was not with my family, so I had sort of a year away from the fam. But this year, I'm gonna see all of my family again, and I can't wait for that. Anyway, let's dive in today to the pad, and there are three things to me that constitute a really good pad, and that's what I want to talk about. And these three things are, in no particular order, some nice soft saw waves that have had the attack sort of softened on them, a nice low pass filter on them, and also a good kind of chord pitch programmed into them. Okay, so saw waves, kind of the number one, nice soft ones. Secondly, it's the vocal aspect. I really like to add a little bit of a vocal kind of flair or flavour to the pad, so that's why I'm going to use a bit of granular synthesis in this one. And then thirdly, I've forgotten what the third thing was. And the third thing is having a great amount of length on the sound. So this is implied in the length at which it takes to come up, the length at which it tails off as well. That's all super important to the character, and not only the release of the length of the oscillators, for example, but also the length that we apply with things like reverb and delay. So length is super important. That's what she said. Let's get into today's tutorial.
The parables of phase plant.
Okay, so lovely little pad sound going on here. And again, with this phase plant tutorial, I want to try to keep things as simple to explain as possible, because it can look like an overwhelming synth, but really, if you know what you're trying to do, it doesn't have to be that complicated. Okay, and you know, I've used a fair amount of effects. I tend to use like 3 effects per lane. I find it a bit more easy to look at when I don't have to scroll down. So I just have like 3 on each lane. But again, they are just adding, you know, a bit of extra character and things like that. But we'll get first into the main sound design. And the main thing is, like I mentioned before, it's going to be the saw waves, and then also a little bit of a vocal generated granular kind of effect, which actually it comes from the original phase plant samples that it comes with, you know, so you don't have to find something else, you know, random vocal sample. You can use what's built in, and a touch of white noise. Okay, so for the saw waves, essentially what we've done is built a sort of chord out of them, and I've put them all in one group as well, which is really useful. And I've applied a low-pass filter within the group as well, okay? Because that's really what makes a good pad to me. It's a nice combination of saw waves that build a chord, all kind of low-passed together. That's one of my favourite ways to make a pad. So simply just selecting the 3 saw waves, and then I've built sort of a minor chord. So we've got -12, and then the extra kind of notes in the chord are actually an octave higher. So they're at +3 and then +7. And again, I've gone like slightly off with the pitch just to make it a bit more realistic. Okay, and the main saw wave is here at 100%, and that's the one at -12, you know. And these ones that are adding onto it higher up, they're at the volume is half the amount of the first one. So the main sort of root note dominates the volume balance, you know. So that has 100% volume, and the second and third one here, they're a bit lower. But then the low pass is happening on everything, and I've applied just one LFO to this patch to keep it super simple, and it's just a slow kind of ramp up and down, kind of a smooth cosine is the shape that I've selected here, which is a bit softer than a triangle, I suppose. And just really slow up and down movement. That's the nature of the pad. It's a slow mover. And so it's a low pass filter, slowly up and down. And then the attack and the release, that's important. That's applied to everything. So we've got a really slow attack, about 240. And a nice slow release, about 700 or so. So that's the main basis bulk part of the pad already. And that already would sound great if you apply some reverb and delays. But what I want to do is give it a vocal characteristic. So I've come here to my extra group, and this is the granular generator. And I've chosen here in the vocals section of the Alfheim, which comes with phase plant, there's a female oo F4. And what I've done is I've actually FM'd this into all of the saw waves. Just a little bit. It's very subtle. You don't hear it too much, but the main time you hear the vocal kind of sound is the gain is going to sort of come up and down on my LFO here, you know? So if I turn off the main group, you'll hear it just sort of creeps up and down in volume. And not only that, it also bounces around the sample a bit here. Because it's the granular generator, I'm toying with the position. We've got a 5% spread, so where the grains are going to be chosen from, there's a little bit of width for the grains to be selected from. But that main position, that starting position where the grains are coming from, the line, you know, that's modulating up and down on my LFO, just to give a little bit of variation in the sound design, you know. Similarly here, I've got a filter on as well, but to keep the like low end clear for the saw waves, I've done the opposite. So I've done a high pass filter on this mode, and I've used the cutoff to basically give us back a little bit of low end every now and again, but mostly it's just a high end addition to the sound. Okay, so nice kind of high end part to the sound, with our saw waves and everything together, so they don't really clash in the spectrum so much. And the saw waves do mask the vocal at the moment, but when we sort of bring out the high end a bit more in the sound later on, you'll hear the vocal a bit clearer, and it'll become even more ethereal and wonderful. And there's a little bit of noise as well. I should mention. Again, with the vocal, I've done the similar timings for the envelope, you know, so about 240 for the attack and 750 for the release. And then again, we've got the same kind of setup here for the noise as well, just a bit of white noise. Again, it's really low in the mix. It's only 1% white noise, but you'll hear it. When I apply these effects in a moment, you will hear the noise coming in, like you'll be able to detect it in the high end a little bit easier. And one more final thing before we move on to the effects is the global unison, which has got the smooth mode here, ×4, and bit of spread, bit of blend. And already getting that nice stereo character into the pad, because a pad by nature, you know, I've mentioned it's very soft, it's a slow moving thing, but also it should be quite enveloping in the stereo image. So I'm going to do quite a lot of effects that will bring out the stereo and make it much more of a stereo experience than I would for, you know, like a bass or a lead, because a bass or a lead needs to be very direct and upfront and powerful in the mono, especially. But with a pad, you're making more of a background element essentially, so you can be a lot more experimental with spreading things. So I would spread things a lot further in the stereo image with a pad than I would necessarily with like a bass. So we can go a bit heavier on those kind of cool effects. So let's jump over to those in a moment. I hope you guys are enjoying the video so far. If you want to give us a like, a little comment down below, that would be wicked. And if you also appreciate my channel and the knowledge that I provide for free. You can also support a little bit on Patreon, join in on the remix competition. Head over to my website, grab some preset packs, grab some of my tunes as well if you want on Bandcamp or on my website. You can also sign up for some mentorship one-on-one sessions. I'll be available over the winter holidays. I'm usually available Monday through Saturday. I only take Sundays off to rest. Also, we're doing another group class, which is going to be on the 10th of December, and I'm going to post the links to that up tomorrow. It's limited just to 10 people, and group classes are great because they're a little bit cheaper and easier to get into, but there is a limited number of seats of 10 people. But it's a lot of fun. It kind of brings the community a bit closer together, so that's one of the main reasons why I like to do those a lot. Anyway, let's get back to the video. All right, so we've got quite a nice pad already, and you can see the units, the glide is on legato and it's up quite high, so I can get these nice effects gliding up and down the keyboard. But now we're going to take it to that next starship, universe, ethereal, extraterrestrial realm that we've all been craving for. Get us off this planet now, by adding in a bunch of effects. So start with lane 1. And I've done a compressor here, basically just to sort of turn the volume up. It may be doing a bit of, it's kind of doing a bit of compression, but I just kind of slapped it on to whack up the gain on the makeup here. But yeah, there is a bit of compression happening, but it's not, you know, you can compress the pad if you want. It's not super an important effect. I just kind of threw it on and left it on and turned it up, you know. The stereo one is really great here, and it's a plugin that I don't like to use on a lot of things like basses or drums or stuff like that, where you can sort of destroy the mono image if you go a bit too far with it. But here for the pad, you know, I don't mind if I sort of disrupt the mono a bit, because I'm trying to make a stereo enveloping sound for the background, you know, so I'm not too bothered about using the width to get what I need, you know. So really here, I've gone up pretty high, like sort of 300%, and it just sounds wonderful. It just really makes it nice and wide, and you know, it might have lost a bit of the mono compatibility, power, whatever, but that's not the idea of this sound, you know. But it still feels very, very clean though, even so. So great stereo spreader if you need one. Yeah, like I said, wouldn't use it all the time on everything, but on this sound, why not? Convolver next. So this is like 33%, and just giving it the convolver obviously depends what mode you're going to use, but I feel like I know some of them quite well now, and how the harmonics kind of respond. And the Eerie loading dock has a nice kind of room sound, but it's focused quite a lot in the high end, so it adds a little bit more brightness to the sound. It's a bright reverb, yeah, but 33%, you know, is quite a lot. So reverbing, I'm convoluting it quite a lot, and the tone is turned up as well, so a nice bright convolution. Okay, so yeah, really nice way to refine the sound. Let's move on to lane 2. This is the best part, I think, is the dual delay. That's really giving us that real pad sound, because, you know, a pad is about that length that you apply to it afterwards with the delays and the reverbs. You know, that's where it becomes really, really soft and majestic, you know, like a sort of horse like floating through the desert, essentially. Yeah, that tail is just, it's just divine. With a little bit of reverb on that at the end, it becomes even sweeter, like a nut, like Tropicana in the desert again, with a horse floating. Anyway, there you go. 3-band EQ. Here you can hear the white noise come back in a bit, and you'll hear the vocal a bit more as well. So remember, the vocal sort of comes up on the LFO, so you'll hear it creeping in a bit more. You know, it creeps in. I can turn it up a bit for you if you want. Okay, so there you really hear it. I did like it just a little bit more subtle, because I've got a filter that comes on in a moment where it emphasizes the vocal even more. But yeah, a bit of a high-end boost. Just to like, yeah, it just you can see on the EQ, it's just missing a bit. You know, we've got all that main pad mid-range nonsense, but we want to. It just misses a bit of brightness. You know, I've taken a lot of the brightness out with the low pass. You know, so we can add a bit more back in now, but it's a softer brightness. You know, than the original harshness of the saw waves. So anyway, flanger. This is to give a bit of more, like a pitch drift, essentially. A bit more realism. Just 10%. Almost giving it more of a lo-fi... a nice lo-fi character. And yeah, this pad is universal. You can use this in any sci-fi movie, or you can use it in a drum and bass track. You can use it in a dubstep tune. You can use it in any genre. Like, pads are just... great. They just convey a sense of emotion, you know, and especially with the way that I've programmed in the minor chord, that's what really gives it a nice sense of emotion, you know. So anyway, lane 3, I've just wanted to sort of turn it up at this point to give it that max kind of volume. So just turned up the effect, the whole sound a bit, and then I've thrown on a filter, which is again, this one is like yeah, really, really nice, because you can, like with the normal filter, it's like just a little EQ bell boost, but just modulating that a bit just allows me to like focus on that little part of the sound that I really enjoy. And again, where we kind of were missing a little bit at high end, I'm emphasizing that a bit more here, you know. And here this filter here, like for me, it really like blends together the vocal with the saw wave. You know, it's kind of in that sweet spot where they start to just gel together really nicely from that little kind of boost there on the whole sound. So at that point, I felt like I'd really finally like married all of the separate elements together through the effects. You know, I've managed to get that fullness that I was after. And so really excited when that happened. I was jumping with joy. I almost jumped out of my window and did a forward backflip. You know, when you dive out the window like forwards, but then halfway in the air you do a backflip. I did that. It's on TikTok. Like, trust. And then yeah, the reverb at the end, just again 3%. Finishing off that beautiful, beautiful tail that is involved with it. And that's the Ethereal Starship pad. So I hope you enjoy that. I didn't need any drums today because it's just so... Finishing on the root note, I thank you very much. Have a great day. Goodbye. You're an idiot, mate. You're an absolute idiot.